Hello, Space Fairies! Let's jump right in. When I was around 13 years old, my family and I went on holiday to our favourite hotel in Antalya. A few days in, we were having a beach day, and on this particular beach, to protect beachgoer feet from the burning hot sand, there were wooden slats placed along the grounds to form a path between the sunbeds and the ocean. I'd been running up and down this path all morning, I assume, because I was trying to do something remarkable, like fill a hole I'd dug in the sand with seawater, but the specifics have been lost to time. What I do remember very clearly, however, is my mum going to tell a lifeguard that a very large, rusty nail is sticking out of one of these wooden slats. The guard thinks about doing something about it for a bit, but then he just shrugs it off. I remember this so very clearly because seconds later, almost as if to prove a point, I accidentally stepped full force on that rusty nail and it goes directly into my heel 2.5 inches deep. I don't remember crying. I probably said ow or yelled something, but more than anything, I just remember I was annoyed that I'd been betrayed by my own comic timing. And you know what? My mum was pretty annoyed too. At the lifeguard, at the hotel, at the beach. So I limped with her to the hotel doctor and he was like, "Hey, you know what? I don't even know. It looks like there's a nail in there and all I have is these plasters." And so my mum and I called a cab to the nearby hospital. This hospital though, first of all, it's in the middle of this barren, empty wasteland with no other buildings in sight. Second of all, it was brand new, like paint still wet kind of brand new. This is a hospital that looks how mirages look in cartoons about the desert. So I rock up with my mum and my bloody foot, and I limp into this pristine marble lobby, which, let me tell you, is not the kind of hospital I'm used to. And immediately, 3 different nurses rush in and escort me to my own hospital bed. Cut to, there's me chilling in a hospital bed, my foot casually bleeding on what you'd have to assume was brand new bedding. And then enters the largest man I have ever seen in real life. This is the first doctor. A very burly, grey-haired man who points at my foot and says, "Foot," and I say yes, and he writes something down on his clipboard and he leaves. Minutes later, he returns with a much smaller man. The second doctor. Again, he says, "Foot," and small doctor nods and looks at my foot. Then he pauses, shakes his head, leans out the door and shouts something in Turkish, probably foot. 3 more doctors walk in, and after some intense discussion that I could not translate, the 5th doctor suggests I go for an x-ray, and so they wheel me away to the x-ray room. In the x-ray room are 2 more doctors, who also say foot, before leaving because x-rays are dangerous. After my foot has been x-rayed, the 2 x-ray doctors look at the image and they kind of shrug a lot, and then they both wheel me back to the room where the 5 doctors are still talking, but have now been joined by 3 more brand new doctors. For those keeping count, there are now 10 doctors in the room and all of them are saying foot. But this video isn't called 10 doctors couldn't help me. No, it's called 13 doctors couldn't help me. Because over the next hour of pointing at me and shrugging, more doctors just keep getting invited to the pointing and shrugging party until, yeah, that's right, you guessed it, there are 13 doctors standing around my bed staring at me, the medical foot marvel, and none of them have any idea how to help me. That is until Dr. 14. Dr. 14, or as I like to think of him, the Alpha, sweeps into the room mid-pointing party, snatches the x-ray from Dr. 9, takes one look at it and just shoos everyone else out. Here's what I learn from Alpha Doctor. Turns out the hotel doctor had called ahead and told them there was still a nail in my foot, so when I had showed up nail-free, it had caused all kinds of alarm because what if the nail was now somewhere else in my body? Alpha Doctor, in his alpha wisdom, reminded the 13 other doctors that this was highly unlikely, and after a quick check of the x-ray confirmed that there was definitely not a rogue nail wandering about my body, only some rust, which he then cleaned out before bandaging my foot and sending me on my way past a procession of all 13 doctors who were still staring quite a bit and probably thinking foot, but at least not saying it out loud. Anyway, that's the story of how when I was 13, it took 14 medical professionals to tell me I didn't have a nail in my foot. A part of me does genuinely wonder, to this day, if they were all just bored and doing a bit, but whether they were or they weren't, either way, kudos to the lot of them, because if there's one thing I really just don't remember from that incident, it's the injury.